Welcome to Comind Sense. Life is all about perception, but our perception is often shaped by our experiences, our wounds, our growth, and the condition of our mental health. This podcast is a space for conversations about healing, self awareness, boundaries, growth, faith, and learning how to navigate life one lesson at a time. I am not a therapist, a pastor, or a life coach. Everything I share comes from personal experiences, lessons I've recently learned, mistakes I've made, and things I'm still actively working through. Today's episode is called It Starts With You. So, why did I start this podcast? I love to talk. I absolutely love to talk. Once I'm that type of person that once I get comfortable, I could literally talk your ear off. And growing up, just having conversations with people, I've often been told that I'm wise for my age and things like that. So, and basically, I've went through a lot. I've been through a lot mentally. And that's a lot of things, I feel like people overlook. But I've been through a lot mentally. And being mentally strong takes a big toll on you. So, and also just going through life one thing at a time. So and I also feeling like I'm alone. Oftentimes I feel like I'm alone and I'm just like, I know there's people out here going through the same stuff I'm going through or people out there that can relate to me no matter the age. Because I mean, I often run into people who are older and very rare, but I do run into some people who are younger that stumble upon the same things that I stumble upon in life. And so I really just want to find people to relate as well. But basically, growing up, I said I've always have a lot of knowledge and wisdom. Eventually, I realized that knowledge means nothing without action. You can stay exactly where you are in life and know it all, but still not apply that to your daily life. So, of course, we all know things, but it's always that first step to take action to apply it to your life. And lately, really within the past year or so, that's what I've been doing. Towards the end of 2025 last year, I started to apply things to my life. And one thing that I did start applying to my life were boundaries. And that is the biggest lesson that I have learned lately, boundaries. Knowing that knowledge doesn't change your life, action does. So I've always said, I want to have healthy boundaries um, going into adulthood. And I realized over years that it's just a statement. You literally have to know about these things, know the different type of boundaries, and know what you need to work on personally. Boundaries can look different for everyone. Setting a boundary can look different for anyone and everyone. So you have to know exactly what it is that you need to work on in order for you to do that. And so, a real life situation for me, I started counseling to a new counselor last year, probably around the beginning of October. And she had gave me a book that talked about boundaries and it talked about different types of boundaries. And so after actually knowing the different type of boundaries and knowing where I stood with boundaries in my life, I was able to start applying it. And immediately I was already put in situations. My boundaries were so bad in life that once I learned about it, I immediately knew and could pinpoint exactly where I could start placing those boundaries. The hardest part about taking action is that first step. It is establishing a boundary. That's literally the hardest part. After you have established that boundary, the only thing you have to do now is stay firm and follow up. Because the biggest part really is just letting the person know, hey, this is not going to work anymore, and not explaining yourself further after that. That's literally the biggest part. I literally could, like, for me, once I just established that and stood on that, stand on business with that, life became a whole lot smoother because I had to understand that I cannot allow people or I cannot do things for people at the cost of my own peace, at the cost of my own mental health. That's what I had to learn. We cannot, unless you have children or you married, we cannot be making sacrifices for people just to make sacrifices for people, especially if it costs your mental health or your peace. My peace is non-negotiable. That's a boundary for me that I had to set, and that's what works for me. When it comes to my peace, it's non-negotiable. If you gotta go, hey, you gotta go. And this is different between cutting a person off and knowing you deserve better. I have cut friends off, and it's okay for me to cut friends off, especially when they're putting you in uncomfortable situations, or if they're more so like leeching and taking from you, and you're not being poured back into. It's okay, and I had to learn that. I had to learn that it's okay for me to walk away from people because I deserve better, and that's one of the best things that I could have ever learned in life. And that's where counseling really changed my perspective at too. That I don't always have to explain everything. I was an over explainer. I always felt like I needed to explain stuff to people. And I'm finally realizing that I also was really big on processing things out loud, which really wasn't necessary because if people, we're all grown, some people are just like that. And so you either gonna accept that person for how they are, or realize that, hey, maybe I deserve better, maybe I don't want this type of person around me. Which either way, it's okay. We grow every day, we have certain needs. So if this person is not fit in your life, it's okay to walk away. It's okay to just turn away. At the end of the day, this is your life. My favorite saying is, at the end of the day, this is my life, this is my world, everyone just living in it. You can only control what you can control. And another thing I would tell people all the time, instead of complaining, please leave me alone. It's one thing for, that's just, married people, they got to accept the person for who they are. But if it's constantly an issue with something that I'm doing, or like for instance, I was really big on holding my friends accountable. That's one thing I'm going to do. I'm going to hold you accountable. So, and sometimes they would complain about that, and I'm like, you could walk away. I'm not going to stop holding you accountable. Anyone that's around me, you're going to be held accountable. So I did have to let some people go because some people just didn't want to be held accountable or be a better version of them. And me personally, if you're going to be around me, we all winning. We all on the same path of success. Even though it may be different types of success, I want everyone around me to be a better them because I want to be a better me. So I'm going to hold you accountable. That's completely non-negotiable. And that came with when I started to become aware of myself. So, I feel like that's another thing. Like, a lot of us feel like we're stuck in a cycle. So, for me, growing up, I was fed all of this knowledge. And so then, okay, I knew all these things. Then growing up, things start to change, like emotions, and you start to understand certain things. And once you get to understanding, you have a choice to either stay in that cycle and keep revisiting the same issues, or take action and go heal or get to the root of your problems. And that's another thing, healing. When it comes to healing, I feel like it's such a controversial topic, but your healing is your responsibility. Your healing affects you. And I could say, yeah, it affects people around you, but nah, it affects you. Because depending on you walking around willingly unhealed, you could lose a lot of people in your life. And that don't affect them. That's going to hit you more than it's going to hit them. Because they could walk away knowing they deserve better. But you're the one who has to do the real work. You have to. It's no way around it. Like, it just comes to a point where we have to stop saying, oh, that's just how I grew up. Or we have to stop saying, oh, they did me wrong. Okay, everyone, if we're being honest, everyone has a sob story. That's just that. Everyone literally has a sob story. Everyone has childhood trauma. It's on you to get up off of your behind and go do something about it. It's on you to be a better you than you were before. Every day is a new chance or a new day to be a greater you. Every day is a new chance at life. Every day is a new opportunity at life. Never dwell in the things that happened yesterday or the things that happened that day, because you always have tomorrow. Treat every day like tomorrow is the last day. And I know that's something that people say, but it's really true. And it's a part of healing. And once you start healing, you see how true those things are. Um, and this also brings me to the biggest takeaway from today's episode. It starts with you. Peace starts with you. Boundaries starts with you. Healing starts with you. And most importantly, accountability starts with you. No matter where you are in life, the first step always begins with you. You have to make that choice. No one can make that choice for you. I encourage anyone to just get up and go do it. The first step is the hardest step, and you smooth sailing after that. So, hey, thank everyone for listening on the first episode of Comind Sense. I hope something from today's conversation encourages you to reflect, grow, and continue becoming the best version of yourself. Until next time, remember, knowledge means nothing without action. Take care.